So, I
Sure.
don't, I th- oops, I think we're live. You want to turn down your volume, probably. I don't know. And then check me out on LinkedIn if you can, or anywhere else, and see if we're live yet, or if it waits until exactly 12. If anybody's on, I'm going to start on this. We're going to be starting here shortly. Just hang in there. First time we're using this particular high-tech software. Technology, technology, technology. Lots of fun. So I show it at 12 o'clock right now.
Okay, we're on live on LinkedIn and YouTube as well.
Okay, so that's good.
I'm checking on the Facebook now.
Okay, I'll start this little video. If you're brand new on, we'll just hang in there. We're going to be starting in just a minute.
Steve Gronlund with Vintage Mortgage Firm. I'm the owner and the head loan officer for the company. I've been in the mortgage business for almost 33 years, 3.5 decades, and I've done over 6,000 successful transactions. I started my mortgage business in 1991 after an 8-year stint in the United States Air Force, where I learned a lot of great experience and I obtained a top secret clearance. While I was in the service, I bought a home. And I realized how difficult it was, how stressful it was to buy that home. I was really interested in finance when I left the service, so this is something that really stuck with me. Armed with my military background and a mission to create the best mortgage company I could create, I left the service and got involved with the mortgage industry right out of the military. I soon realized becoming a wholesale mortgage broker was where it's at. See, I found out that mortgage brokers can bring a loan to the secondary market much more efficiently than a bank or credit union could ever hope to. So I created and formed my own mortgage brokerage. My mission was to create a simplified purchase process for the buyer, the real estate agent, and even escrow. We wanted an exceptional experience for all of them. And today, with almost 3.5 decades of experience, we've really honed our abilities to create a simplified purchase transaction. And how do I know that? Well, if you check out my Google reviews, you'll find all 5-star reviews as of this recording date. And prior to Google reviews, because I've been around a long time, prior to Google reviews, I've got over 75 letters of recommendation from not only real estate agents and past clients, but community leaders, police officers, pastors, and even a circuit court judge. It may seem like I'm boasting, but it's also an indicator to us as to whether we're doing the right thing and we're accomplishing our mission. Because I own the company, I've been able to put together some alliances with some of the top wholesale lenders in the country. In fact, the 3 top wholesale
We'll be
lenders.
starting in just
and
a minute.
Because we create enough volume for the top wholesale lender in the nation, we even get discounts from them. And because I own the company and I don't share my commissions with anyone else, I can do this with absolutely no lender fees on most every loan. No underwriting fee, no processing fee, no admin fee, none of that. No lender fees at all.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started, I believe, here. I've got a presentation to share with you. This is first-time home buyers getting ready to buy a home. If you're in the market or you're in the process of starting the journey of buying a home, well, for crying out loud, you want to do it right. And so we're going to go through this presentation. It'll answer all kinds of questions you might have. I have helped over 6,000 people in a real estate transaction, so I will be able to answer any questions you might have. As we get started here, let me check with John. John is going to be my right-hand man today. His name is John Henry, and he's going to be checking all the systems to make sure we're all working right. John, can you tell me if we're looking like we're working right? I think so. Maybe not. All right, well, I'm going to get started assuming we are doing what we're doing and everything is working the way it's supposed to be working. So, first-time home buyers, listen up. There are a lot of common fears that are associated with buying a home or getting ready to buy a home, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. And we're going to go through those common fears first. First one is, of course, financial concerns, whether you're going to be able to afford the mortgage or not. Fear of not being able to afford the mortgage is something that crushes a lot of people in looking at buying homes. And you just got to understand that you're going to buy a home or rent somewhere along the line, and rent's going to go up, and buying a home payment's not going to go up. So just it's understanding what's going on there and understanding where you're going to be. Down payment anxiety about being able to come up with the money for down payment. Fortunately, you don't need much down payment anymore. We have lots of good options available to you today. We have lots of good options available to you today. And one of them is down payment assistance, closing cost assistance. We even have grants available for people. You'd be surprised, you don't have to be poor to be able to get those. So we have those available to you as well. Lots of times the seller will pay closing costs for you, and there's things we can do to help you get through that. Market conditions, market fluctuations. People worry all the time about whether real estate is stable and whether it's going to go up or whether it's going to go down. Just understand that it's always going to go up and it's always going to go down, up and down all the time. But this fear is irrelevant, because if you understand, and we're going to go through this a little bit later in the presentation, if you understand overall long-term real estate always goes up. I know that's something that's hard to say and other people will disagree with me, but real estate always goes up over time. And whenever you buy a home, even if you bought a home in 2008, let's just say you bought a home in 2008, that was right as the crash, or you bought it in 2007, right at the crash. You bought a home for $500,000, and 2 years later or a year later, it was worth $300,000. You think, oh my God, I'll never want to do that. A lot of people let their homes go. But today, just 10 years later, a little bit more than 10 years, I guess, that home is going for $795,000, $800,000. So understand that. Market fluctuation is going to come and go. Don't try to beat the market. It's like trying to play the market on the stock market. Let me bring on Lino again. Are you there, sir?
Hey, Steve.
Okay, good. Does it look like we're working on all three platforms?
Yeah, but currently
Okay.
the Facebook is not showing.
Well, we're trying a new system called StreamYard. Really cool system. It allows you to go live on 3 different platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So we're just trying this out for the first time. Anyways, let's go on with that. Home inspections and repairs. Concerns about whether or not you're going to be discovering unexpected problems when you buy a home. Well, the good thing about a home inspection when you do buy a home is you're going to find out all those kinds of problems and issues. You're not going to expect to buy a home that's perfect. Not even a brand new home is perfect. But and there's always things come up when you own a home. That's all factored into reality when you're considering owning a home, and making sure you put together a repair budget so you have the money necessary to repair or replace things as they come up. Maintenance costs, fear of the ongoing costs associated with maintaining a home, kind of the same thing we just talked about. It's a reality, and you get through it. Commitment anxiety. This is different. People have this. It's a commitment anxiety. Just you don't want to commit to something. It's new. It's different. It's a change, and of course, you have to get past that in order to be able to buy a home and start with building your wealth. And owning your own primary residence is the first step in building wealth. And as we go through this, it's going to be very, very clear to you that that's true. Job security. A lot of people say the same thing. They're concerned that the job is not going to be secure, or they're concerned that their job might move them or something like that. Well, unless you have an inevitability of that happening, if you know that's going to happen, in most cases, the job security is kind of unrelated, because you got to live somewhere. you'll see that later on. You're either going to live with your parents, you're going to rent something, or you're going to buy something. And as long as you can afford it and you don't overbuy, you still got to live someplace. So if you lost your job or something like that, and that's part of the budget to make sure you have the emergency funds necessary to find a new home. And we talk about that a lot for people who are getting started. I even help people build a budget if necessary. Okay, lack of knowledge. Well, I have videos, so many videos that you can watch ahead of the schedule process or the process or your journey of buying a home. Or if you don't, you're going to get those videos and that education at every single step along the process. So you can do one or two things. Watch them all up front so you're totally knowledgeable about everything, the whole process of buying a home, or you can wait and I will send you those videos and send you that information at just the right time so you understand not only what you're going through, the process you're going through, but the next step in the process so you feel knowledgeable. The more knowledge you have, the more in control you feel. Legal and contractual concerns, anxiety about understanding legal aspects. Well, fortunately, today we have escrow and title. So all homes, all real estate transfer in the United States through escrow and title, and they're designed to help protect the buyer and the seller. So they're the middle person, the middle party to make sure that everything goes right. They're providing title insurance to make sure that your title is insured, the lender's lien is insured, and everything goes right. And it's their job to make sure all the documentation is correct. Of course, if you're working with a real estate agent, they have a legal team on their side too to make sure that you're being protected. So there's a lot of things involved that help protect you. Of course, you can always hire an attorney. I have a friend of mine that sells a legal shield, which is great because you can send them legal documents, have them review anything you want to have reviewed. So whatever you're concerned about, legal and contractual agreements and things like that, we can help you overcome that, either by going far over the one side where you're having everything reviewed very, very carefully by your own attorney, or you're going to let title and escrow do their jobs. Another common fear is location and neighborhood. What if my neighborhood goes down, or what if there's a pedophile on my block? You can check all that out. When you buy a home and you go into escrow, you typically have a 17-day due diligence period where you can check out everything about your neighborhood. Check out the schools, check out the area as far as who's on your block in the area, and those are their websites to be able to help you find or locate those kinds of concerns. But the main thing is you're going to have that capability during the 17 days. You're also going to get an appraisal. You're going to get a home inspection done. So anytime during that 17-day due diligence, you can cancel for any reason and get your money back. The only thing you would lose is the money you put towards a home inspection, which is very well worth it. Because if you find something, a problem like a concrete or a problem or a foundation problem, you want to know before you close. And they have insurance too. But during that due diligence period, you'll pay for an appraisal, you'll pay for a home inspection. And if you found something that you didn't want to continue for, you could cancel and get your deposit back, or your earnest money down payment, earnest money deposit. Emotional attachment, buyer's remorse, fear of regretting what you're doing. Now, I feel this a lot when I buy something, and normally I feel it because I overpaid for something. I know I overpaid for something, or I bought something I really didn't need, or something like that. So if you're the type of person that has buyer's remorse, and make sure that you talk while you're talking to your loan officer or your real estate agent, and both of them, you're discussing everything. You want to make sure you buy within your means, and you want to buy that's something that's going to work for you. And if there's any real concern, talk about it right when you find it, right when you go into escrow and the contract, and just make sure you get over that before moving forward. And if you're the type of person that has buyer's remorse on everything, that may be a condition, and you might need to seek help for that. Competitive market. People are concerned all the times about bidding wars and things like that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the session. But that's a real possibility, and it's part of real estate. So sometimes you're going to make an offer, it's going to be accepted, and everything's going to go well. Sometimes it's going to be multiple offers. You'll get a multiple offer counter offer. You just state how much you're going to go up to, and that's it. And if somebody else gets the offer, move on. And it's not that big a deal. Just understand, don't get too emotionally connected to a home until you have a contract. Paperwork and documentation. Yeah, paperwork. There's some paperwork, but your loan officer is going to do most of that for you. My team is going to do most all the paperwork. Escrow is going to provide some documentation for you to fill out. We can help you fill that out if you want, or you can take it to an attorney. But most of that documentation is pretty simple and common. And most of the paperwork we need to get from you will tell you what we need. Every one document is just one simple document. So if there's 15 of them, you just do one at a time in the checklist until you get your documentation in. Nowadays with AI, we can provide underwriting with AI, which really reduces the amount of your documentation that you need to. Also, automated underwritings, things like that can sometimes get appraisals waived and tax returns waived and things like that can really help reduce the amount of paperwork that's involved. Home ownership responsibilities, property taxes and insurance. These are just inevitable. It's part of living in the United States, part of buying a home. But it's also comparable when you look at how much it costs to rent something. You might argue right now, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We might argue right now it's cheaper to rent than to buy a home. Not really. Bozos tell you that on television. But in reality, but in real life, sometimes you can rent something right now cheaper than you can buy something. But long-term, no way in the world. And we'll go over that in a minute. Common misconceptions. So let's look at that. You must put 20% down or more, or have to have a large down payment to buy a home. That's not true anymore. I have one place where you can apply one time and apply for all 300 down payment, closing cost assistance, and even grants that are available in California. So you no longer have to go out and search the internet, finding grants or finding down payment assistance programs and then trying to apply for each one of them. We have one place, one click, one application, and you can apply for all 300 different down payment closing cost assistance programs. And you do not need 20% down. Even on a conventional loan, we can do as little as a 1%. We have a 1% down payment program, comes along with a $4,000 grant if you qualify, but 3%, 5%, 7%, 10%, 20%, you can put, a large array of how much you're going to put down. Plus, if you have a down payment assistance program, sometimes that is in the form of a second. So you might have a first and a second covering your down payment, and all you have to do is come in with closing costs. So there are a lot of programs out there for little to no money out of your pocket. Here's another misconception: is you can afford the maximum mortgage that you qualify for. So let's just say you call me and we do your numbers. It's just a very short process of analyzing your situation. You do an application, takes 10 minutes. Then I call you and we dot the I's and cross the T's, and I do a full analysis for you. And I determine that according to the banking industry's guidelines, you qualify for a loan or for a purchase price of, say, $700,000, and you're going to have a down payment of, say, 10%. You choose a loan program with 10% down because you have it. We come up with a monthly payment, and according to the banking guidelines, you qualify. Well, it's really important. Checking my camera. It's really important that you understand that doesn't mean that's the house you should buy. Your lifestyle might be different than another person's lifestyle. For example, you might go out to eat every day. I know people that go out to eat every single day, and they couldn't imagine ever making their own dinners or whatever. Well, if you're going to continue with that particular lifestyle, and you're not going to be able to really afford a $700,000 home if that's the maximum purchase price that I qualify you for. So it really comes down to what is your lifestyle and what do you do, how much money you spend, and whether or not you can really afford this. So that comes down to making sure you're going to do a good budget. And I can help you do a budget. A lot of people can help you do a budget. You got lots of internet videos and places online where you can find information about doing a budget. You got to decide whether buying a home is worth it if you are the type of person who goes out to eat every single day. And if so, maybe you need to buy a home at $500,000 instead of $700,000, giving you enough money to do what you want to do during your living, during their month. So this is a real misconception. And in reality, buyers should make sure you have a good budget and buy within your means. Down payment is the only upfront cost. That's not true. So let's just say you're buying $700,000 and the down payment is 10%. That's $70,000. Don't think that that's all you have to come in with. If the seller doesn't pay your closing costs or doesn't pay any of your prepaids, which often you can get right now, sellers are doing that very often. But let's just say they don't, then you're going to have to come in with probably another $15,000 to $18,000 to cover prepaid taxes, prepaid insurance, prepaid interest for 1 month. Because remember, when you close escrow, your first payment might not be for almost 2 months later. So there's some prepaid interest. You're paying prepaid taxes that are due now, and insurance. If you're going to have an impound account where all these payments are made in your payment, then you're going to have some reserves put in there. So plan on, say, if you're buying at $700,000, plan on $18,000 more on top of that $70,000. So now we're looking at $88,000 you need to come in with to close escrow. Let's go on to perfect credit is required. A lot of people believe that. No, perfect credit is anything over 740 FICO score. I can go as low as 580 FICO score, although often if somebody's at that low a FICO score, I will help them get to the next level. So they're going to be able to close on purchasing a home more smoothly and better and have a better experience. We can even sometimes do credit scores lower than that. So when you do the analysis with a loan officer like myself, he or she is going to do everything, look at everything, including your credit. And if it needs to be improved, then I can direct you towards the right professionals that are not scam artists. There's a lot of credit repair scams going on out there, but I can direct you to the right people to get your credit fixed if it needs to be fixed or repaired, old stuff removed, things like that don't belong there. A lot of these creditors don't follow the rules, and things are on your credit report a lot longer than what they should be. And you can often have them removed. So having perfect credit is a misconception. You don't have to have perfect credit. All real estate agents are the same. Some people think real estate agents don't do anything. Boy, it couldn't be farther from the truth. Most of the work for a real estate agent is put up front. I mean, you may look at multiple homes, many homes. In some cases, I've seen real estate agents show 25, 30, 40 homes to somebody. Well, if that's the case, that's just a matter of, it might be a commitment issue on the buyer. But nevertheless, all real estate agents are not the same. I would recommend you get a referral to a great real estate agent. I recommend a top real estate agent, somebody who's been in the business for a while and has a good reputation, full time in the business. That does not to say that people who are part-time real estate agents aren't good real estate agents. That's often possibly true. You have to look at every agent differently, but you can interview your agent to make sure that you're going to feel comfortable with them and their experiences and their communication style. You want to make sure that they're going to be communicating with you in the same style that you're used to being communicated with, and as often as you want to be communicated with. I like to set up people or refer people to real estate agents that match their social style. And that's important because if you trust your agent, if you like your agent, you're going to feel more comfortable through the process. You're going to get the information you need in the way you need to get it, and you're just going to feel better about the whole process. Another misconception, banks are better than brokers. Well, of course, I'm a broker. I'm going to tell you the brokers are better than bankers. Of course I am. That's because I'm a broker. Why don't I work for a bank? I could be a loan officer at a bank, but I'm not. The reason that is because mortgage brokers are simply better than banks because of one big reason. The first reason is this is all we do. We don't do anything else. We don't do checking accounts. We don't do, business accounts. We don't do savings accounts. We don't have to do investments. We do real estate loans, and we do one thing. We do it really well, and we move on and help the next person do the same one thing. And during our career, our whole goal is to improve that one thing that we're doing. So common sense would tell you that a broker would be better at doing that than a banker who's doing everything at the same time. But it's farther than that. Brokers can bring a loan to the secondary market faster and more efficiently than a banker can ever do. That's going to save the borrower you time and money. And it's also going to create a better experience for the real estate agents as well as you, escrow, and everybody else. Brokers also have more products, more options available. So depending upon your situation, you might be somebody that can qualify to buy a home and go anywhere. And that's great. If that's true, then I can shop the interest rates shop the lenders for the best rates possible. And I have discounts with those lenders. Now, relationships with those lenders, wholesale only lenders that you can't go directly to. They only deal with brokers. And we're going to beat the bank and credit union every single time. But let's just say we have a little hair on the deal. I call it hair on the deal. If you have an issue, maybe you had a bankruptcy, maybe you had a foreclosure, maybe you got you're separated, you're going through divorce, or you just went through divorce. Maybe your credit is not perfect, and there's some other reasons that you have to consider different options out there. I'm going to be able to go out into the world and find the right option that's going to meet your needs, rather than you going to some bank and trying to fit yourself into their 5 products that they have, or 2 products, or worst case, 1 product. So it's pretty clear brokers are better at doing that, and they have more relationships, and there's more capabilities that a broker has. You should find a home before you talk to a lender. Misconception. A lot of people will do this. They put the cart before the horse, and they go out and they start looking for homes, get on Zillow, get online, start looking for homes, and they find a home they really like, and they call a realtor that's attached to that home, or any realtor that pops up on Zillow, and they say, "I'd like to look at this property." And of course, agents today are not going to show you a property unless you can show them a piece of paper that says you're pre-approved. And if that's the case, you found a home, you really like this home, and now you're going to be in a hurry, that's not going to be a good situation for you. If you're considering buying a home, get pre-qualified first. For crying out loud, do it right. Get pre-approved first. Find the right mortgage lender that's going to work for you and work within your social style, so you're able to better communicate and better get your questions answered. And the simple reality is, if you're not pre-approved, agents are not going to show you a home in this market today. Also, going direct to the listing agent is best. That's a common misunderstanding and misconception. They say, well, I'm just going to work directly with the listing agent instead of having my own agent. There's a lot, some new rules that have come up, but I want you to think about this for a moment. If you're going to go directly to the listing agent, and sometimes that's warranted, and especially if you have history and experience in real estate purchasing, and maybe that's something you want to do, and that's great. But the listing agent represents the seller. And if you want to work with the listing agent directly, that means the listing agent is now going to be a buyer's agent at the same time. So they're supposed to represent your best interests along with the seller's best interests at the same time. It's hard to do. You got to have a lot of good character to be able to do that correctly. But if in reality, in most cases, they're not going to be able to rightfully represent both your interests if issues come up. If no issues come up, no problem, no big deal. But if issues come up, then it's hard to say that agent is going to represent your best interests. Another common misconception is the first offer should always be below asking price. Today's market, that's ridiculous. Now, there are different markets. When I started buying real estate as a real estate investor, I started buying real estate I think it was 19, well, it might have been, about my first primary residence in 1985. And then I started buying investment property in about 1991 or 92. Back then, it was definitely a buyer's market, and I could make offers below asking price and often got those offers accepted. Today, you're not in a buyer's market. You're not full over on a seller's market, but you're not in a buyer's market. So you're not going to get, in most cases, you're not going to get, if the house is a nice house, there's going to be lots of people that can buy it, lots of people that are looking at it, and they're not going to let you lowball their offer. They won't accept it. They won't even look at it. So if you want to buy a home, talk to your real estate agent, whom you carefully chose, and let them, help you understand whether or not that's a good idea to lowball a property. Sometimes still happens today. If the property's been on the market for 3 months, maybe you're going to lowball it a little bit. But let your agent help you with that. That's why it's important to work with the top agent, knows what he or she's doing, so that she can make those recommendations. If you really want to buy that house, that's another thing. How much do you want to buy that house? If you lowball it, somebody else is going to get it in most cases. If you don't care, but it's a good house, good price, it's a good property, it would be a good investment property or something like that, and you want to lowball it and see what happens, hey, man, that's my way of doing things. Nothing wrong with that. But if you don't care. So let's move on to the biggest misconception of all is the TV says it's a bad time to buy a home. Or they're saying the time to buy a home is past. Or renting is better than buying a home. Now, these are bozos. You see them on every network, almost every network. But people who will likely never own a home themselves, work out of a cubicle, have a bow tie on. I'm just joking. But they come up with these crazy ideas that buying a home is a bad idea. So, well, let's just look at what we saw in the last 20 years. Let's just say real estate was at the top of the market in 2007. Pretty much everybody knew something was coming. And somebody, I'm sure, was told, don't buy a home in this market. It's a bad time to buy a home. Would that have been true? Well, 2 years later, then you would look back and say, whoa, that was a good thing. I did not buy that house. Well, it was good advice. But 10 years after that, had you bought that home in 2007, you'd be looking pretty good today. So just understand you're not necessarily getting, sometimes you get factual information that isn't correct. Let me give you some examples. While headlines may be factual, let's explore why they're not usually accurate when you look at a historical perspective. In 1969, let me just do a quick check with my friend John. John, are we looking good? Give me a thumbs up. John, give me a thumbs up. Everything looking good? I think we're looking good. All right. In 1969, Business Week said that in an article about the housing market, the goal of owning a home seems to be getting beyond the reach of more and more Americans. The typical new house today costs $28,000. Well, that's an eye-opening event. In 1969, they were recommending not buying a home. In 1977, National Business stated the median price of a home today is approaching $50,000. Housing experts predict price rises in the future won't be that great. A decade later, by 1980, home prices in California had raised an average of 11.5% per year. In 1985, this is about California, by the way. In 1985, Money Magazine wrote, the golden age of risk-free run-ups in housing prices or home prices is gone. At the end of that decade, California home prices had risen an average of 7.95% annually. 1996, San Francisco Examiner wrote, a home is where the bad investment is. Now, if you would have listened to that advice in 1996 and not bought a home, you would have been very unhappy. From 1998 to 1999, the Sacramento area home prices had risen 38%. During the 2008 and through 10 financial crisis, I call it the Great Correction, the housing market experienced a significant downturn, leading to a widespread belief that investing in a home might not be a good or wise idea anymore. Many news articles, opinion pieces, and analyses suggested that buying a home today is not a good idea. Prices dropped an average of 25%. but then doubled in the next 10 years. So we talked about that. In 2021, the overall feeling was that another real estate crash was coming. So many people kept renting. Prices kept rising. In 2023, the rates went way up. So many people in the media outlets say that it's a bad time to buy a home. Prices will soon drop. Prices kept rising. Understand there are 10 undisputable facts. I don't know I have 10. I think I have 9 on here. 9 undisputable facts you can't dispute. Number 1, the media likes to sell bad news and often turns out to be wrong news. Number 2, real estate ownership has led to the creation of more wealth than any other investment asset class in the nation. Number 3 fact, home prices will go down and go up, but history shows up. So here's the question. Is it true that real estate always goes up in the short term? That's false. Is it true that real estate always goes up in the long term? Well, long term, since the discovery of America to today, long term, the prices have always gone up. So you might say that's a fact. Number 4, baby boomers are retiring and moving to in flocks to warmer climates, Southern California, and as well as others, but they're still moving into Southern California. Huge numbers of immigrants are flocking into California. Like it or not, they're trying to buy homes. Now, immigrants, even illegal immigrants, can now buy homes using different mortgage products. So there is a huge disparity here. Lack of housing is a real thing in California. And so, of course, when demand exceeds supply, prices always go up. Fact number 6, builders were slow to restart. They really got stuck in the rear end from the crash of 2000, the great correction of 2008, 9, and 10. So they haven't still not gotten up to the speed at which they were building new houses. That has caused a problem, even a bigger shortage in California for property, homes. Most of Orange County, LA, and San Diego counties, if you think about it, most of Orange County, LA, and San Diego counties are already built out. They're not making any more land. Where are these new people who are going to buy a home? Where are they going to go? Riverside County, San Diego, and San Bernardino County. That's where they're going to go. Fact number 8, if rates go down, supply and demand means prices will go up. If rates go down, more people can qualify. You're going to have bidding wars like you have never seen before. So understand that. If rates go down, supply and demand will change, will really outdistance, rather demand will really outdistance supply, and prices will go up. Still multiple offers are coming in on California homes. I mean, every once in a while I hear somebody make an offer and it got accepted and we're good to go, but typically there's multiple offers on homes today. I guess it was 10 facts. You're either going to live with your parents, you're going to rent, or you're going to buy a home. You only have 3 options, really. Well, unless you're going to live in a box. That's possible. There are 5 miracles of home ownership that you need to understand. 5 miracles. Number 1 is income, depreciation, equity buildup, appreciation, and leverage. Let's go through them. Income. Purchasing your home saves you money. You get to write off the interest that you pay. So instead of paying the government or Uncle Sam, you're writing it off of your taxes and you're keeping some money. Your tenant, if you own a home that's an investment property, your tenants will be paying off your home, building wealth for you. Depreciation. I like this one. The government allows you to depreciate a home. Now, the definition of depreciation, ensures that something is reducing in value over a period of time. But isn't it great the United States government allows you to depreciate an obviously appreciating asset? Isn't America great? Don't question it. They're going to take it away one day, but until then, you get to take depreciation as tax deductions. Equity buildup. You have a forced savings plan when you're buying a home. You don't get this in rent. You don't get any of that money back. You don't get nothing back in the future. When you're buying a home, you have a forced saving plans. It changes your mind in the way you think. And if you over a 30-year period of time, if you're careful, when you do, if you do refinance, you can still get smaller terms. Let's say you refinance a 30-year loan 10 years into your ownership. You could choose to get a 20-year loan. You don't have to go 30 years out, depending upon what your plans are. Susie Orman used to say, or I think she probably does say, that most people will retire with only one asset, and that'll be the value of the home they paid off. And with an investment property, your tenant is paying off your mortgage and, of course, building up equity there. Appreciation. Historically, property in California has increased in value on an average of 7.75%. That includes all the periods of dropping values. I'm sure that there's been times when values have dropped, corrections, and even the great correction of 2008 and 10. But that number, 7.75, is included in that overall average appreciation of real estate. So, and look at this. I like this example. If you have a $500,000 home and the property appreciates at 7.75%, you make $37,500 each year. And this is kind of like adding to your salary. It's like, let's say you make an income of $100,000 a year at your job, and your employer gives you a raise of $37,500. So now your salary is $137,500, but he's going to put that $37,500 directly into a savings account for you, and you can't touch it. That's still money in the bank, baby. I like it. Appreciation chart. You can see what happened all the way up to 2008, 9, and 10. You can see that drop in appreciation over those periods of years. But you can also see, since Columbus discovered America, you can see the property values have gone up. I can't say have done nothing but go up. They've gone up. Long-term appreciation values have always long-term gone up. They don't get there in a straight line, but that, it's just like trying to time the stock market. And the best thing to do in a stock market situation, most people agree, is buy mutual funds. The average appreciation is 8%. Leave your money there and don't worry about it. Even if they tank, they're coming back. And that's true on real estate. Even more true on real estate, because your house is never going to go to zero value, whereas a stock can. Leverage. And leveraging your money is a key component to building wealth in real estate. Let's try to help you understand that. Remember, you can put as little as 1% down, really, but let's just say 3 to 10% down when you're buying real estate. So that the real money coming out of your pocket, let's just say, for example, is 10% or $50,000 or whatever it is. When appreciating the asset, what appreciates is the asset. This is important. What appreciates is the asset, not the money you put down. In fact, the money you put down has a zero rate of return. It's the asset class. The house you bought is what's appreciating, not the money you put into it. However, if you looked at it differently and understood certain things like compound interest, tax-free accumulation, and the miracle of leverage, you can see this a little differently. For example, let's just say you had a regular investment and you had $30,000 to put down as a regular investment, and that's $30,000, and you're going to get a rate of return, a guaranteed rate of return of 8%, and that means you're going to receive $2,498 a year for that 8% rate of return. After 10 years, you'll have $36,000. If you leave it in that account and don't take it out, it'll grow in compound interest. After 20 years and after 30 years, $300,000. That's the benefit of compound interest. Your interest starts to compound on itself and growing exponentially. Compound interest. But let's just, and that's going to be taxed, of course, if it's an investment. Let's just look at this with the power of leverage. Let's say your house, you're going to buy a house for $150,000. You're going to put 30% or $30,000 down, 20% down, $30,000 down. And the appreciation, let's just say, for instance, we'll lowball it, is 5% appreciation. So at 5%, now At 5%, your principal, interest, tax, and insurance for a full year at 6.5% is going to be about $11,396. And you get to write off all of your interest, so that's $2,340. You have appreciation at 5%, that's $7,500. Total rate of return is $8,840. And then if you looked at the actual rate of return on that 30,000 you put in, you actually seeing a rate of return of 32%. That would be a really good rate of return on any investment, anybody would say. But after 10 years, it's not the $30,000 we're looking at anymore. We're looking at the asset. It appreciated 5% per year, not 5% on the 30 grand you put in, 5% on the $150,000 home. After 10 years, your home is now worth $342,000. After 20 years, it's worth $594,000. After 30 years, it's $943,000, and that's considering your losses. Now, of course, you have property taxes, but with Prop 13 in California, which is a great thing, please, we need to never let that get voted out in some obscure bill where it's slipped in under the side of getting rid of Prop 13. Best thing Californians ever did is Prop 13. So you're not going to be paying taxes, property taxes, which is on average 1.25%. You're not paying property taxes on the full value of your home. If you bought it for $150,000, it's going up at the most maximum 3% per year, but only if the inflation rate is at 3% per year. So 10 years later, you're probably paying taxes on $200,000, but your house is worth $342,000. 20 years later, you might be paying taxes on $300,000, but your house is worth $594,000. So you see, the actual tax rate is far below what your value is. Now that's leveraged, and you have compound interest. Now let's take a look real quick at not taxed. Let's take a look at here. Before we get started, let's look at some see if there's some questions. We'll get to questions at the end, I guess. It's very hard for me to see it here. We'll get to questions here shortly. So that's leveraged and using compound interest. And for the most part, except for your property taxes, it's tax-free. Let's look at two truths about rent. Now, these are all things bozos on TV are not explaining to you. They don't understand these things. To be quite honest, they don't get it. They probably don't even own a home, or they've never looked into this. Two truths about rent. Truth number one, rent going up is a bad thing. Truth number two, rent going up is a good thing. Let me explain. Let's say over the past 30 years, your rent has gone up at 5% per year. That's true. That's a true statement. Rent has gone up at 5% per year. Values have gone up 7.75, but rent has gone up 5% per year. So the rent you might have got 30 years ago is when you bought a home for $150,000 or versus for a house that's worth $150,000 might be $1,000 a month. And then we have rent 10 years later, it's $1,628. If you're older and you look in your past, you can realize these are true statements. Rent 20 years later it's 10 years ago, is $2,600 a month. Rent 30 years later, and let's just say that's today, is $4,321 for the same house that was worth $150,000 30 years ago. Based upon $150,000 sales price or value, you would have saved $291,000. Let's just say pretty close to $292,000 over a 30-year period of time with your mortgage payments versus your rent payments. Although the rent in the very first few years might feel like it's going to be cheaper. Now, it's also true that rent is going up is good if you're receiving the rent. If you're receiving the rent, that's a good thing. 5% per year going up. The first year, you got $1,000 a month, $1,600 a month, $2,600 a month. Now you're getting $4,300 a month, and your house is paid off. Now you own an asset worth $648,000. It's free and clear, which means you could sell it and put all that money in your pocket, or keep it and you continue to receive $4,321 a month as income, minus taxes and insurance, as income, and that's be a nice income added to your retirement when you're trying to retire. Fun fact: people thought home values would tank and rates would go up. When people thought home values would tank and rates would go up, I told people to buy now at a lower rate versus buying later at a higher price. At a lower price, rather. Buy now at a lower rate versus buying later at a lower price and a higher rate. So, as an example, this is what I told people before. Buying a home at $900,000 with 20% down at 4% interest would produce a payment of $3,437 a month times 360 months, 30 years is $1,237,000 you're going to pay back to buy that house. But let's just say they waited. Prices went down, which they didn't. But let's just say they did go down. And interest rates went up, which they did, which we knew they would. But let's just say you bought a house at $800,000, 20% down at 7% interest. Your payments would be $4,257 over 360 months, 30 years. You'd pay off $1,539,000 for that house. So you see, you'd rather have a lower rate than buy at a lower price. However, let me see here. All right. However, that's not always true. Today, people believe prices will rise. They're starting to get the idea that they know that now prices will rise, but rates might come down. And that's true. I believe that's true. Rates might come down. So some people are saying they're going to wait until rates go down to buy a home. Well, no, don't do that. I tell people to buy now while sellers are making deals. When rates go down, there will be no deals left. Sellers won't be making deals. You'll pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 more for that same house once rates go down. Remember, you can always refinance. Refinancing is easy. So if rates go down after you own the house, then refinance. It's true, you're going to be able to get a better rate. If 2 years from now rates go down and you still want to have your house paid off in 30 years, get a 28-year loan, but lower the rate. It's going to make sense for you to do that. That's today's presentation. However, I'm going to take a look at some of these questions. Are you on, John? Come on back. Oh, there he is, John. Are you there? Okay, let's take a look at some of these questions, see if there's some questions here.
There's one question here from Jay.
Read it out for me, will you, John?
Okay, what are some potential hidden costs associated with buying a new home that I should be aware of?
Well, they're not necessarily hidden because when you buy a home within 3 days, you have to have when you get into contract, 3 days, you have to have a lender's loan estimate. So nothing's going to be hidden, but there might be things that you didn't expect. For example, you're buying a $700,000 home, 10% down. You think, oh, all I need is $70,000, but really you need $88,000 because you didn't think of the prepaid taxes, prepaid insurance, prepaid interest, the reserves, and things like that you have to think about. So make sure you have those things in mind when you're going into contract and you're going to have enough money to close. Go ahead, John. Any other questions?
So far, none.
Okay. Well, that's because I did such a good job. No, I'm done. It's 1252. I'm used to saying big numbers all the time. So it's not 1252. It's 12:52 p.m. And if anybody has any questions, of course, my contact information is right here, 951-695-0901. I'd love to help crunch some numbers with you. If you go onto my Google or my YouTube page, every weekday I crunch the numbers on a brand new listing. go to my YouTube page, which is Vintage Mortgage Firm Temecula, and you can see I crunch the numbers on a brand new listing every single morning. You'll also get updated information if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. So that's all I have for you guys today. If there's no other questions, by all means, let me know. But if there's no other questions, I will let you go. Guys, have a great day. We'll see you later.